Hello, I'm Steph from iDriver Classic, and today I'm showing you something rather exciting. It's the Ford F-250. This one is from 1969. Now this might not be the first time you've seen this because I've borrowed it from Ben at Tasty Classics. And if you haven't checked out his YouTube channel yet, you should definitely check it out in the description box below where I've popped a little link for you, because he has done so much work to this, including making it far more spicy on the open road, but we'll talk about that later on. So if you, like me, are British and you've never seen one of these in the metal, in today's video I'm going to walk you around, show you inside the cab, show you in the back. We are on our way to the tips, so there's a few bits and pieces, and then I'm going to take you out on a test drive. And yes, my friends at home, there is a V8 under the bonnet, which means we are going to get some tasty sounds out of that exhaust. Right, let's have a look. 1948 is a really good year for motoring releases. It's when you get cars like the 2CV and the Morris Minor. And you know what else you get? The launch of the Ford F-Series, of which this F-250 is a part of. Now, it's really important for UK and European and maybe even viewers from further afield to understand the cultural significance of this pickup. It's not just a vehicle used to haul stuff around, but for many, it represented, and still represents actually, a hallmark of the American dream, because it was a vehicle which could support every passion, every business, and really become the backbone of the family. In the same way that every Brit has a story about Morris Minor or knew somebody who did, ask any American about an F-250 or the more popular F-150 and they'll have owned one, known someone who has, or maybe they've worked for a business where there has been an F-Series on the forecourt. Everyone has a first or second-hand experience, and that is a massively powerful thing. And in fact, I would go as far to say that these F-Series are just as American as things like apple pie, the Constitution, and Coca-Cola, which is probably why even now, decades after this was built, there is a strong support network, and prices to buy one of this generation aren't as low as I'd first hoped when I went onto eBay, even for a fixer-upper. Now, Ford wanted to do things differently with the F-Series, and they played up to their target market and what they wanted, and they promised functional design equating to a longer life for the truck, with durability being a big going concern for Ford, and they were really explicit in everything they said and everything they promised. And if you're wondering what they promised, well, in that glossy pickup brochure from 1969, they said that the sheet metal was built to thrive on day in and day out punishment, which of course was music to the ears of businesses looking to keep overheads to a minimum, and also the manual worker who wanted a reliable workhorse which wouldn't need constant fettling or replacement after a short period of time. Now, this particular example we're out in today is a 5th generation, by which point Ford have made some serious upgrades to the late 40s iteration. Now, by the 5th gen, there's some really important improvement developments, things that mainly arise from the 1965 amends, where they change over to the twin I-beam front suspension. If you're wondering how that works, it's a system which Ford has continued to use into the 21st century on some of the F-Series vehicles. And for those that don't really know too much about it, the twin I-beam suspension flattens out the bumps and lessens the impact of potholes and keeps the front end more steady and level. And what happens is that's then coupled with the Flexomatic rear suspension, which then automatically takes care of all the load in the back, no matter how heavy. I say that on the caveat of being no matter how heavy within the limits, to ensure there is a consistent and comfortable ride. The 65 revisions also give us a new platform, and the 5th generation vehicles are built onto this, although you'll see that the vehicle does increase in size and there are additional engine options. Although if you're wondering what comes as standard, it's what they describe as the economical 6 within the brochure, but it is just the slant 6. Now, the 1968 brochure told me that that was all you were going to get unless you were going to pay extra. So if you're wondering if that's what we've got in here, as I mentioned earlier, if you skipped over it or you were busy doing something else, well, we don't have that in this. You are in for a treat. We've got the V8 and it has been slightly improved. It's a 360 FE engine, but with a twist. It's now got the Edelbrock intake with the 4-barrel Holly carb. And when I start it up, you are going to love it. Now, in 1969, when this was released, there were 3 trim levels available, and that was the case for the 5th generation in its entirety. However, I issue that with a caveat because the names do change from 1970 onwards. So at this point in time, you get the custom cab, and you get the Ranger. Now, this is a custom cab, and Ben believes it's missing the original back section, which would have made it into the camper style. Because at first, when I was looking at it, I thought it was the style side, but apparently not. Now, in 1973, the 5th generation was retired, and the 6th generation came to market. This saw the retirement of the FE engine in 1976, whilst that 6th generation is in full swing. And so then what they do is they replace that engine that we've got today with the 335 and the 385 series. There are also a lot of other modernisations made which help to keep the vehicle fresh and the buyer hungry for the next big thing. Now, in my opinion, and I want to know if you agree with me, the F-250 is a great lesson to all vehicle manufacturers. All you need to do, it's really not that difficult, is create a solid, fuss-free product that does exactly what the buyer wants. And with that, you'll get them hooked for life. And what do I mean by that? Well, we are now in the 14th generation of these pickups, and they are still seen in their thousands across America. I believe at this point in time, there are over 1 million F-150s. And so therefore, these F-Series vehicles are commonplace in every car park, business, town, city and suburb, which means that people are very familiar with them and they reach for them first and foremost. Now, I don't know about you, but maybe I'm a bit of a traditionalist, but there is a certain charm to this 5th generation that we're testing today that really just can't be topped by the newest models. Now, let me show you this inside in a bit more detail, because if, like me, you've never seen one before, you might be very interested.
Goodness me, this is so comfortable inside here. These seats are like a trampoline. I love them. I wish that my mattress at home was as comfortable as this. And I tell you what, I've driven plenty of cars from the 60s and nothing has been quite as comfortable as this. But I do wonder if perhaps that's because when you think about it, when you go to America, you cover hundreds of miles. You Americans have such stamina for covering your mileage that really it's only matched by the Australians, who also write in and merrily tell me about how they do 500 miles in a day, and I just think I would be exhausted. Although I did do 500 miles the other day in the Morris Minor and it nearly finished me off, and my bottom at the end, goodness, the next day at work wasn't pleasant. Anyway, coming inside here, everything is deliciously simple, and I really like that, because when you're driving, you want to be immersed in the driving experience. And I've got a V8 to enjoy today, which, by the way, only gives us 10 miles per gallon. However, Ben has generously chucked 20 quid in the tank, so hopefully we will be able to do a very short test drive. So what have we got? Well, first of all, you've got your fuel gauge, you've got your speedo, which runs up to 100 miles per hour. And if you're wondering, it's 0 to 60, and I think it's either 6 or 8 seconds, because as I said, it has been a little bit tweaked, but look, we're all here for the fun, so it's fine. Coming down from there, you have got your mileage, you've got your temperature gauge, and you've got your oil gauge there as well. So all very simple, but again, it's everything that you really need. You don't need that much more. Coming down from there, you've got your lights on the control here. You've got your wipers, which I've been told are faster and a little bit faster, but the brochure did say that twin speed wipers came as standard. There's no mention of intermittent, so I'll mention that there just in case you're wondering. Coming over from there, you've got your cargo light, which is situated just up here. Now, I did switch that on and it didn't come on, at which point Ben was very quick to jump in and say, Steph, this is a work in progress, which might also explain why we have no sun visors, which, by the way, came as standard on both driver and passenger side. Now, you might think, if you're watching this and you're an American, that you're going to say, Steph, that's a real basic. Look, I'm here to tell you that commercial vehicles and pickup vehicles in the UK so very rarely came with sun visors on driver and passenger as standard. Quite often you were having to pay extra on those. And by the way, you probably weren't going to get twin speed wipers either. So this is a really good bit of kit for the age. Coming across from there, you've got your choke. Now, you're not going to see me touch this today, and the reason for that is it has been swapped over to an electronic choke. But I thought I'd point it out because it's there anyway. Coming across from there, you've got your cigar lighter, and coming down from there, there's a little thing which says emergency flasher. I've been told that's the hazards, and I was actually laughing because I said, oh, they don't appear to come on. Ben went, the car's really reliable. Why would you need hazards? I was like, okay. So it's a bit of a, almost like a Titanic mentality there. So goodness, I hope we're not stranded anywhere. But I tell you what, it's so big, you're not going to miss it. Coming over from there, you've got an ashtray, and thank goodness I don't smoke, because apparently it's been closed up for about 30 years and nobody has jimmied it back open. And I'm not going to be like Sorcerer in the Stone trying to pull it open. So we'll leave that well alone. Coming across from there, you've got a modern Pioneer stereo, and coming down from there, you'll see the heater controls. Now, I've been reliably informed that the original heater controls were not that generous. It was all just a bit hit and miss. And so what Ben did, as you can see here, and he described it as not his finest work, is he's plumbed in something slightly more modern, and that gives you a fair whack of hot heat. But even though I'm wearing 2 layers today, I'm absolutely burning up like a boil in the bag chicken because it's very hot today. So we won't be turning that on. Coming over from there, you've got your glove box, which is full of various bits and pieces, as you can see there. And look, it's a working vehicle, and I love the fact that this is used and enjoyed. And then you probably saw some of the stuff in the back and thought, oh, you're not using that to go to the tip. Ben uses this for everything, and I love that. I think classics should be used and enjoyed because you never know how many days you've got left on earth. And if you want to enjoy your vehicle, just go and enjoy it. Now, you know what it's time for now? We're going to start it up. And if you were wondering if it's the Slant 6, no. We have been spoilt with a V8 in this. Right, let's get it started up. Okay, I'm really excited to start this up with you all at home, and we've not started it yet. And that comes with a little bit of worry because I've been told that the car does get a bit of heat soak, which essentially means that when she's cold, she'll start on the button, but when she's hot, because of fuel vaporization, etc., you have to start her with a certain finesse. And Ben said to me, not to worry me, but definitely put me on edge. He said, no one's ever started this apart from me. So I've been given some instructions. So if you're watching me do it and I look a wee bit nervous, you know why. I have to hold it here. So this is our gear change lever. Now, bear in mind, you've got 3, as I was talking about when we walk round, it's 3-speed auto. And that was, I think that was the only option that they mentioned in the brochure I was looking at from 1968. So anyway, the aim of the game is this. We're going to turn the key, we've got to give it a little bit of throttle, and we've also got to hold it in park. So clearly I need to perfect my octopus skills. Hold on. Oh, come on. Oh my God. Can you hear that? Now, if you can't hear it, I'm going to film it from the outside so you get that full V8 deliciousness before we go for a drive. Right, let's go on an adventure. Oh, I love this. It's so easy to drive. Do you like my little cowboy hat, by the way? I've deliberately dressed up in this outfit today to show you all. This is actually from Texas. It's an original Sears suit from the late 60s. And I just thought it was so period correct. And until today, it had never been out of the packet because I was saving it to wear for something special. And this just felt like it. Now I'm going to put my foot down slightly. Oh my God. This is worth those 10 miles per gallon. I love this. It's so easy to drive. Now the thing is, when I talk about it being easy to drive, let me tell you why it's so easy to drive. First of all, the height of the seat within the cab means that even as a short woman, I can see to the end of the bonnet, and more importantly than seeing to the end of this corner, I can see to the end of that corner as well, which gives me really good spatial awareness. And even though I'm driving on the side of the car that's not usual for me, I just feel instantly at home. Now you'll notice with the steering, I'm having to slightly correct it as I go, but that really is no slight whatsoever. Although I tell you what, it's really feisty because I'm having to constantly watch my speed because she just wants to get up and go. And I too want to get up and go. This is just everything. Ben said to me, he said, you'll understand why it's my favourite, and I really do. So apart from that, what else? Well, the steering, of course, is power assisted. It's nice and light. I was talking to you about those brakes. The weird thing is though, right, and if you've ever driven one of these, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, is the step. Now, I'm very used to all my pedals being at the same height, whereas with this, if I go to put my foot on the brake, I have to lift my leg. It's almost like some sort of dance move, which is quite a strange sensation. And the first time I went to brake, when we did like a test move of feet around the pedals, I didn't immediately reach for that point. So it was just a little bit strange. But as I come down, I can feel the wind in my cowboy hat. I'm just having such a great time. Now what else can I tell you? Well, if you're going to go for one of these in the UK, I should probably talk to you a little bit about parts, because you might be watching this and thinking, well, it's all very well and good to enjoy the driving experience, but what do you do when you need parts? Well, there's a company called Rock Auto, and Ben uses them, and my friends Neve and Jake use them. I think Loz uses them, and they're so quick that you get your parts in less than a week. There are some British suppliers that struggle to meet that week's deadline. So for me, it wouldn't be a massive turn-off having to wait a few days for parts, because let's face it, you have to wait for parts on most things anyway nowadays. Now as I come around this roundabout, you'll see that even though it's a mammoth-sized car, it's really easy to take round, and I don't feel nervous whatsoever. And bear in mind that what I'm used to driving is so small in comparison to this. And actually, one of my biggest concerns when I started filming was that I was going to feel like the vehicle was far too big for the British roads. A little bit like I felt like at first in that P76, where everything just felt like it was just such a big car. But actually, as I drive down, I'm not having any of those concerns at all. And I've just got in and felt instantly at home, instantly comfortable. And it also feels like it's built with quality in mind and durability. Because as I come round, and I know this steering wheel is aftermarket and people will point that out, but it's the quality of everything, the upholstery, the way that the seat hugs your body, I don't know, the way that you push the pedals down and it's got just enough resistance to feel like it's there. A too light pedal always freaks me out. It just feels like it's all been put together so very, very well. And I just don't have much negative to say about it. I guess my only negative would be is that pedal I just find slightly strange. But I mean, realistically, you think about the typical American driving experience where they're going miles and miles, especially when this was new, and you're not going to see loads and loads of traffic. This horrible phenomenon that we have in Great Britain, where you've got all the stop traffic, that's not something that you get in this vehicle's home country. I guess the only other complaint would be is Ford, why didn't you give us these when they were new? This is great, and I think that it's so durable, it's so usable. It's one of those vehicles that whether you want to go to a drive-in movie, you want to take all your rubbish to the tip, which is where we're off now, or you want to trailer something, this really can be used for everything. Now, one of the last things that I'll leave you with before I sign off for today is that when I was reading all the brochures for this, it said that the suspension was just so that no matter how rocky the terrain, you've got just this velvet, I think it was called like a velvet drive or something. It was some sort of marketing nonsense anyway. And I must confess that actually it has been very smooth indeed, and I've been very impressed. I really love it. I can see why Ben loves it, and I can see why he's lavished thousands of pounds on it. It's worth every penny because it is just so enjoyable. And you know what? We live in a world where quite often we have to do a lot that we don't enjoy doing. So it's quite nice to come out in something that puts a massive smile on your face. It's easy to drive, it's a great colour, and all round just a fun, usable classic. Now you'll have to tell me in the comment section below whether you've ever driven one of these or whether you've owned one, and what your thoughts on this pickup are today. Do you think it would have gone down well in Britain, or do you think there's just too much meat on the bone and it's just too big and ostentatious for what we had in the UK? Now that's it from me today. Thank you so much, Ben, for trusting me with your lovely F-250. It's been so much fun to take you out today, but until next time, take care and drive safely.